Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. My apologies that it's been a minute since I got a video out in LA again, back out here, trying to get into the swing of things, being back out here and trying to get things done. My setup's a little limited, so my apologies. Thank you guys for bearing with me and continuing to watch these videos. It's awesome for all of you that keep coming back, despite however much time that I need, like in between getting a video out. I've really been trying to focus on learning as much as I am trying to give information out to you guys as well. So let's get into this one. Somebody requested that I make a mixing tutorial. I made a video not too long ago about not putting a soft clipper on the master and driving everything through the roof. I'm gonna show you guys what I do instead of the typical, like, actually, let me just stop talking about it and let me show you guys what I do. All right, guys, so the very first thing that you want to do is make sure you have all of your sounds that you're using in your beat routed to the mixer, and then you want to highlight everything and bring it all the way down so it's silent. Next, you want to make sure that you're looping the loudest section of your beat. You don't want to be looping a quiet section and mix to the quiet section, because then you're not going to get those dynamics. So make sure you're mixing the loudest section, which in this case is the hook for me. Then you're going to want to find your kick. I typically level my kick around -15 dB. After the kick, I move on to the clap or the snare. This typically is a little quieter than the kick. I try to bring it up to around -15, but I just make sure that it's a little quieter than the kick. Then I go for the 808. For the 808, I put it at about -18 dB. Make sure you're using your ears though. These numbers aren't necessarily like an end all be all. Sometimes I put it above -18, sometimes I put it lower than -18. It all depends on how the sound fits into your mix, but typically 808 I put around -18. After the 808, I move on to the hi-hat, which generally I level at -27 dB. Then I move on to the perks. These are just kind of like however you feel, like how loud they should be, however you think they should be in your mix, level them to that. Typically I keep them below the hi-hats or in between the hi-hat and the 808, but once again, it's your mix. Do whatever you feel like sounds good to you. Since this is kind of more of like a virtual ragey kind of yeet beat, I had to throw in that bell. Now that pluck that I just moved up and moved down, that isn't in the hook, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. So after adding all the perks, that's when I move on to the melodic elements. Usually grabbing the most important element first, I grab this lead, and you want to kind of level it around -24 dB. That's typically where I put my melodies. If you're struggling with mixing your melodies into your beat, a lot of beginners make the mistake of making them way too loud and the percussion is just really quiet, when really the percussion, the kick and the snare are some of the most important elements, and your melodies need to be a little quieter than you think. Don't just set it and forget it too. As I'm going through this process, I'm moving things up and down, seeing how things sound a little differently, and kind of as the melody comes in, it kind of takes away from some of the other elements. So you might have to like boost things or quiet things a little bit too. All right guys, so now some of the sauce on the master. This is where a lot of my technique takes place. First off, I have an EQ2, and I just have the preset set to 20 hertz by 18 kilohertz cut. That cuts the low end and the high end frequencies that you can't really hear. Then I have another EQ2. I pull band 1 down to create this kind of low shelf, and I use the scroll wheel to boost the lower frequencies where I want like the kick and the 808 to hit a little harder. But when I cut this down here a little bit, that kind of takes off a lot of that low end. It tames the low end. You might not be able to notice it in your headphones or out of your monitors, depending on what kind of monitors you have, but that tames a lot of the low end that if you go listen to it in the car, you'll notice it a lot more. For this beat, that's what sounded good to me. It might be different for your beat. I typically do a little boost in the highs, boost in the mid, a little boost in the lows with a low shelf on band 1. Make sure that you do all this in order, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Make sure you do all of this in order. Don't worry about glitch, that's just to add effects. Next, we're gonna move on to the M compressor. This is a free plugin you can get at meldaproductions.com. I'll leave a link so you can get it. All I did was I set attack to 30 milliseconds, release to 100 milliseconds, ratio 2:1, put that on linear mode, and then I did the whole sidechain thing. If you wanna check out the video where I go into more detail about this, I'll leave a link on the screen so you can watch that video, and I'll break this down a lot more. Basically what I'm doing is I'm getting the compressor to focus on the kick. That way when the kick and the 808 hits, it kind of like side chains the kick so that there's not this crazy loud transient like just punching into the clipper. It just tames that a little bit every time the kick and the 808 hit. Next is the free clipper. I usually put this to cubic. Sometimes I try to experiment with other ones, but basically I leave it on the cubic setting, and then I start to turn the gain up until I hear a little bit of distortion, and then I try to back down just a tiny bit. Basically what that did is after putting the compressor on and everything else, I drive that signal into the clipper just like you would driving it into the soft clipper on the master channel. But rather than being like out of control, like I don't like having all those levels out of control. So basically I'm gonna drive those into the free clipper, turn the output back down to -12 dB. That way I have a lot more control over where the volume's going. And it also creates perceived loudness. So check it out right here. Without the free clipper and the M compressor, you can see that my master channel is hitting at around -7, -8 dB. But when I put the compressor and the free clipper back on, sounds a little louder, but it's actually hitting at a lower level dB. So and you're still getting that punch in the mix. So that's why I like to do it this method. That way, even though the level is quieter, it still sounds like it's a louder signal coming through. After the free clip, I like to put a fruity limiter on. I turn the ceiling down to -1.3 dB. Not exactly sure why. I saw somebody do this, so that's why I do it. I think it's to create a ceiling for in case some of those peaks are going over. You don't want them to go up into 0 dB. So I turn it down to -1.3, and then I push the gain up to as close as I can get to that ceiling. And then I like to put on another fruity limiter and get it a little closer to 0 dB. Like I said, maybe I shouldn't do this because I don't want those peaks to get above 0 dB, but that's what I do for now. That's my process for now. And I like the way it sounds. I think it sounds good. So yeah, that's quickly how I mix my beats. Tried a few other ways out, but this way just feels right to me for some reason. I don't know what it is. I feel like it gets everything to hit the way that I want it to hit. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you drop a like, leave a comment, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. And yeah, thank you so much for being patient with me. I'm gonna try my best to get some more videos out to you guys while I'm out here. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Peace.